Tiger fans, you're now tuned in to Tiger Rag Television, your source for the latest in LSU sports, in-depth game analysis, engaging interviews, and all things Tiger Nation. It's time to talk some LSU sports. Let's get ready for your Tiger Rag hosts, Jim Inkster, Chelsea Brumfield, Jeff Palermo, Ron Higgins, and Tyler Nunez.
Welcome to Tiger Rag Television. I'm Chelsea Brumfield. Can they be stopped? It doesn't seem that way. Joe Burrow and the LSU Tigers clinched yet another win against Ole Miss this past weekend. And with Arkansas on the horizon this Saturday, it doesn't seem like they're letting that #1 spot go anytime soon. We're going to be talking about that matchup, as well as an LSU legend is joining us in studio, Rohan Davey. You may know the name. He's going to weigh in on Joe Burrow and the LSU Tigers as well. Plus Nick Saban and Les Miles, LSU football coaches. But did you know they have something else in common? The guy who dresses them. He's going to be here as well to talk to us. But first, coming up, Crossfire debate. Jim, what do we have in store?
Chelsea, we have a really special guy who'll be our first guest, Bobby Ragsdale. Captain Ragsdale went to West Point. He was the student body president there, actually class president. And he has some thoughts about the possibility of West Point allowing athletes to participate there and then not have to have a service obligation. Now, this would make Army and Navy probably overnight national football powers. But Captain Ragsdale doesn't like this, and we'll find out why very soon.
Thanks, Jim. And coming up right after the break, we have that and a whole lot more, so don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
This is Jim Inkster. Welcome back to Tiger Rag Television. And in our Crossfire segment this week, we're giving Glenn Guilbeau a hiatus. Captain Bobby Ragsdale is with us. He's a New Orleanian, kind of, graduate of Isidore Newman, class of 2003, where he was student body president. Also went to West Point, where he was class president, 2007. He is class president of the class of that year. And went to Harvard University and has a master's degree from the Kennedy School and was vice president of the student body at the Kennedy School. So if ever there were a five-star recruit for politics, this man is the guy. And before we get to the topic at hand, a West Point guy won re-election a few days ago as governor of Louisiana. Your thoughts about the re-election of John Bel Edwards?
He sure did. Governor Edwards is, I think, a good man. I think he represents the academy well. We love to see West Pointers going out and doing great things in the world. And so I think he's a great ambassador for the brand, and I think he's good for Louisiana. I think that he is a moral person who represents the values that we try to espouse. So
now, I talked to him about the topic we're going to discuss, and it involves the President of the United States. And as we know, those two are not on the same page right now, and they're not on the same page on this. The President is proposing that the military academies, West Point in particular, do away with the requirement after graduation for military service for athletes. And of course, that would possibly make Army an overnight contender for the national title. They won 3 national championships in football in the 1940s, have 3 Heisman Trophy winners. But now it's hard to get five-star recruits to go to West Point because of that requirement. What do you think about this possibility? The governor's against it. The president says he's considering it, and as president, commander-in-chief, he has the power to do it. What do you think?
I've had this conversation a lot of times with my classmates and other graduates of the academy over the years, and I hold what is an unpopular opinion similar to the governor. I don't think it should be done. I think that the mission of the academy is not to produce football players, it's to produce leaders and servants to the nation. In fact, the mission of West Point is to educate, train, and inspire the Corps of Cadets to lifetimes of professional excellence and service to the nation as an officer in the United States Army. And it doesn't say anything about being a professional athlete in there. I don't think that there's anything about being a brand ambassador or athletic recruit or television personality that counteracts the value of contributing our top talent to being officers in the military. And the athletics are such an important part to life at the academies for all cadets. Every cadet must be an athlete. It's the same for the other academies as well. Douglas MacArthur said, "Upon these fields of friendly strife are sown the seeds that on other fields, on other days will bear the fruits of victory." In other words, the things we learn on the athletic field make us better leaders. We learn to push through hardship. We learn physical exertion. We learn leadership. And those things are valuable to the country. This is a taxpayer-funded institution. By making the absolute best officers in the Army, Air Force, Marines, Navy, you name it, I don't think that, though there is value added to having professional athletes come out of the service academies, I don't think that value is counteracted by the cost to the mission and to the reputation of the academies.
Now, of course, it would bring great acclaim to a military academy if Army were to play for a national title again. It's in the New York television market, so we're talking about the #1 market in America. Look at the teams now that are at the top of the charts, the top of the polls when it comes to voting. LSU's #1 in the AP poll.
Sure.
And that's Baton Rouge. And #2 is Ohio State, Columbus, Ohio. We're not talking about big markets, but there would be a huge appetite for Army and Navy, which is in the Washington, D.C. market if this were to happen. And some people say, hey, a lot of these 5-star recruits from all over the country would love to go to one of these academies, and their parents might like it even better. What do you think about the positive side of this? Because there is an upside to it.
Well, I think 3 things. So first off, go Tigers. Okay, so I think it's great time to be in Louisiana right now. 2, the game has fundamentally changed over the years. So in the 40s, when West Point was winning national championships and Heisman trophies, football in college was, people went to college and then while I'm here, I'll try and play football. We had started getting the ball rolling on recruiting and so forth, but it was basically pulling from, like high school athletics are, you pull from the student body. And if that's the case, who's going to have the best athletes but the service academies? On a per capita basis, they're going to are all athletes. So it makes sense that at that day and time, West Point Navy produced some of the best athletic prospects and won national championships. Today, college ball is largely, at least for football and some of the biggest sports, is a farm league for the professionals. And I think a lot of us see that, and there's a tremendous amount of money that does go into these programs, and these programs can produce. And in fact, cadets today benefit from the money that the Army football program brings in. I can't deny that. So I think this would add a lot to that. It would bring in better recruits. It would, but the third point is the experience at the academies, even though it is modified for athletes, especially football players, and it has been that way for many times, their experience over the 47 months at West Point are similar, but in many ways different from your average cadet. That's only going to be more pronounced as something like this happens. But even still, the experience is fundamentally different in an inexorable way from going to LSU or the Ohio State or Georgia or something like that. You're still going to be wearing a uniform, living in the barracks, and I don't think that every athletic recruit is going to be open to that sort of lifestyle.
But Army is pretty good right now with the rules as they are. In fact, they're probably a top 30, maybe even top 20 team. They're very good, and this would only enable them to get better. They're going to play at LSU in the year of 2023, which ironically will be the end of the second term of John Bell Edwards. And I would imagine if this rule were changed, that game could be quite competitive in 2023. Bobby, you said some of your classmates have a different opinion than you. Are there a lot of people who you went to school with who say, hey, this might not be such a bad idea?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of both my peers and what we call old grads, the guys who've been the generals and older folks who've been around. I think a lot of people are nostalgic for the old days of Army football, and I don't blame them. But and I think they are, with respect to them, I think they can be short-sighted in their desire for a winning Army football program. Now, they do have good arguments. So the argument is regularly put to me that athletes bring an additional value. They make better officers, they make better cadets, which is, we usually have the conversation about athletic recruiting in general, and to that I agree. Although it's curious that as student body president in high school, no one recruited me to go to West Point. And I knew 2 1600s on the SATs. No one recruited them to go to West Point. But the captain of my football team, he got visited by a recruit. And that's all private money funds the athletic recruiting, so I don't really object to it. But I wonder what our priorities are and why we aren't trying to bring in a more holistic group of people to the academies to better represent the military. So, but the point that people will regularly make is that these people will do great things for Army recruiting. They'll bring pride to the academy, pride to the services, and I think that's all correct. I absolutely believe that. That is 100% true, and I've known some of these players who've been on the chopping block, like the cusp of will they or won't they. The superintendent usually backs it up when the NFL tries to step in. Sometimes the Secretary of Army steps in, but it's often the Secretary of Defense. And Jim Mattis at one point said no and put the kibosh on it. I've seen it happen a couple of times. So if the president intervenes, it's going to happen, but we'll have to see.
Well, the president likely will do this in a second term, and he's got to win re-election to do that, and that's touch and go. But we'll see what happens, but it'll be fascinating because this could be a big boon for college football, obviously, to get into the New York and Washington markets with Army and Navy. Thanks for your service, Captain Bobby Ragsdale, who is a graduate of West Point, class president, 2007.
That's right, yeah.
West Point, and you went to war for our country as well.
I did.
And won the Bronze Star. So we appreciate what you've done for the country. And remember the name. This guy has a future in Louisiana politics, Captain Ragsdale. It's been a pleasure. We'll be back after this with more Tiger Rag Television right here.
Welcome back to Tiger Rag Television. Jeff Palermo, News and Sports Director of the Louisiana Radio Network.
Tiger Rag, Six Pack.
6 hot button questions involving LSU athletics. Here joining me, Tiger Rag editor Ron Higgins and assistant editor for Tiger Rag Magazine, Tyler Nunez. Question number 1 for you guys, Dave Aranda is making $2.5 million. How much of the heat should be on him right now after that lackluster performance defensively against the Ole Miss Rebels?
Well, it's becoming pretty disconcerting at this point. I mean, you're late in the year like this, and your defense kind of keeps collapsing in the second half and giving up a lot of points to major teams, and having your offense bail you out every single time. I know, you know, some people look at this as payback for all the years that the defense bailed out the offense that couldn't score. But what happened in Oxford was not good. When you have a freshman quarterback and he kept running for touchdowns so many times, I had to go check his bio to see if he wasn't related to the Mannings. That's a problem. And running basically the same play over and over again. And they can talk all they want about gap fits and all this kind of stuff, but you also have to tackle people. There's a complete breakdown almost every area, whether it was gap fits or fundamentals.
There's no doubt that Saturday was definitely concerning, but I'm going to say that there's probably a little bit of heat on Dave Aranda, but I think a little heat's probably good. This is a guy that he's had praises lauded in his direction for the last several years here at LSU. This is the first time he's ever been under any pressure, and I think that's probably a good thing. I still think he's one of the top defensive coordinators in the country. I still think he's going to be LSU's defensive coordinator next year if they can keep him, and I think that LSU's defense should be in good shape. Yeah, they gave up a lot of rushing yards this past weekend, but keep in mind they're still the #4 rushing defense in the SEC. I think they're going to be okay.
All right, question number 2. Great performance again from LSU wide receiver Ja'Marr Chase. When he leaves LSU, will he go down as the best receiver ever to play at LSU?
He's going to be up there. He's going to be in the conversation. I mean, the only ones you can think of ahead of him right now are guys like Odell Beckham Jr. and Jarvis Landry, which set a huge standard for the program. There are a couple guys before them, but as far as duos go, him and Justin Jefferson reaching 1,000 yards together with at least 4 games, probably 5 games left on the schedule. There's huge potential for the rest of this season, let alone his career. I think Ja'Marr Chase is going to go down as one of LSU's top quarterbacks. He definitely belongs in the conversation.
Yeah, Jamar's tremendous, but I really go old school on this because I'm old. Wendell Davis, great receiver. Back, golly, in the 80s. Went pro, was a great receiver in the pros until he blew both of his knees out on the same play, I think with the Bears. This guy caught everything back in the 80s when LSU didn't throw the ball that much, and he's still close to the top of the career charts and everything in LSU. I would have loved to have seen Wendell Davis in this offense. That said, Ja'Marr Chase has an ability to make catches that nobody else can make on this team, adjusting his body in midair, an ability to track the ball while not even looking at it and just knowing where it's going to be. He's going to make some major money, but also moving up in the pro draft almost every week is Justin Jefferson, a guy who was a 3-star or 2-star who LSU barely signed, but they got him.
Well, speaking of draft stock, As we go to question 3 for the Tiger Rag six-pack, Grant Delpit, is his draft stock dropping in your opinion?
No, I'll tell you why. Because the scouts will look at a guy, and a lot of times they won't necessarily look at the year they had. They'll take injuries into account, and they'll just go back and look at his film and then know this guy's a football player in every aspect. He's smart, he's fast, he's got size, he's physical, and he has a nose for the ball, and he's been kind of beat up all year, and they'll take that into account. Listen, what your college career does is it gets you in the door to pro scouts looking at you, or the Senior Bowl gets you in the door, and then it gets you in the door to the NFL pro draft days in Indianapolis. When you get there, you got to shine. So Grant's going to be there. I have no doubt he'll be a first-round draft choice.
Yeah, I'm not even really sure that Grant Delpit, based on the performance we saw, should have been playing in that game on Saturday. His lateral movement was definitely affected by the injury he's dealing with right now, and it really led to a lot of those big plays that we saw Ole Miss kind of break off during that game. So I think Grant Delpit's going to be fine. His draft stock might be taking a little bit of a hit. Scouts might be taking a little bit more of a critical look at him. But that being said, we're talking about a guy who was a unanimous All-American as a sophomore. That talent just doesn't go away. I think by the time he's in front of a lot of NFL scouts doing workouts in front of them, he's going to be fine, healthy, and he's still going to get drafted pretty highly.
Question number 4 for the Tiger Rag six-pack. Obviously a huge injury to Tua Tagovailoa. When it comes to the College Football Playoff Committee, how much should they maybe dock Alabama now, considering Tua is not available for the rest of the season?
Well, based on what they've said over the last several years, they have to. They have to look at this. They look at injuries of big players. They look at suspensions. And Tua Tagovailoa is the best player on Alabama's team, bar none. So I think the fact that he's not playing, if his backup doesn't come in and just put up insane numbers, I think Alabama's going to take a really big hit when it comes to the College Football Playoff Committee. Now, that being said, they're in a closed-door meeting. We don't know what they're saying, so they could find a way to justify it. But right now, I got to say, based on what they've said in the past, that this will affect Alabama's chances of making the playoff.
Oh, there's no doubt agreed that they'll take into consideration the injury, and they'll probably will dock him. Yeah, I do agree. I've had LSU fans worried that because Tua got hurt, would that, say, take some glow off of LSU beating Alabama, and would the committee look at that and say, well, that win isn't quite as bright now. Alabama's kind of fading. No, what the committee looks at is that week, who you beat and who they have playing that week. Tua played that week. LSU beat them. So Tua's absence now has no bearing on LSU as far as is their victory over Alabama cheapened because Tua is no longer playing.
All right, question number 5. Only got a couple more minutes here in this segment for the Tiger Rag six-pack. Who's your number 4? Quick answer on this, guys. In the College Football Playoff Committee.
I'm going to go Oregon.
I'm also going to go Oregon. I think that the resume is really good, and I think that they should be able to jump into that spot.
All right, final question for the Tiger Rag six-pack. LSU basketball, 25 more turnovers on Saturday in the win over Nichols. What's going on here, guys?
It's a new motion offense. It's an offense that a lot of these guys didn't play last year, and it's one that's turnover prone. If you're not playing it well, you will turn the ball over a lot, and I think that we're going to see this ironed out throughout the year. They've got some veteran guys at the guard position that should be kind of limiting this, but they definitely will down the line, and Skylar Mays and Javonte Smart, but it definitely does need to shore up, or else it's going to be a really long season for the Tigers.
Yeah, when you go to a motion offense, it really kind of screws you up completely on how you deal with passing the ball. I mean, last year when you're basically running off high screens, there's not that many passes you can make other than to the guy who rolls or the shooter standing on the wings. There's a lot of passes involved in this. That said, they got to be a little more patient in not believing they can make every available pass that's there or not available pass. And then a lot of stuff is just forced. A lot of forced turnovers and unforced turnovers by guys making bad decisions on passes that just aren't there.
Good stuff. That is your Tiger Rag six-pack. More of Tiger Rag Television when we come back.
A world-famous tailor is paying Tiger Rag Television a visit today. Let's find out why he's in studio.
I'm Jim Inkster, and welcome back to Tiger Rag Television, a special treat. One of the best-dressed men in the world, Manuel Martinez, is with us, and 3 times this gentleman, who's operating in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, has been named the best in the world by the World Congress of Tailors, and as you can see, He fits the part. He looks the part. Manuel, welcome aboard.
Well, thank you for having me here, Jim.
You came here in 1984 from Mexico and took the world by storm, and people wonder, why in the world is this guy who's been decorated globally for your work, why did you stay in good old Baton Rouge, Louisiana?
Well, my wife is a native of Louisiana, and she did not want to go elsewhere, so I had to make Mama happy. I had to stay here in Baton Rouge, and Baton Rouge has been great to me, Jim. And I mean, I have clients in New York, Dallas, Atlanta, New Orleans, but Baton Rouge is home.
You can see the man looks great in purple, but he has some clients who have LSU connections, and one of those, great story, when he won the national title in 2003, won Nick Saban. He wanted to look good when he went to see the president. He came to Manuel Martinez, but it was an interesting session with Coach Saban, wasn't it?
Oh, it was. You know, I had made close for Nick since he came here in 2000. And when they called me in 2003, early 2004, they had won the championship with Oklahoma. And his wife Terry asked me to do something special for him because they were invited to go to the White House. The coach and the team were invited to go to the White House.
And you make this beautiful suit for him. And I've seen it. He wore it a lot of times, but at the start, he didn't like it very much, did he?
No. When I was commissioned to do the suit, Terry asked me to make something that I personally would wear to represent the state of Louisiana, LSU, as well to meet with the President of the United States. At that time was George Bush, if you remember that.
Mm-hmm.
I said, would you want to, okay, the fabric? She said, no, I don't have time. You just go ahead and do it. So I went ahead and selected this beautiful blue fabric from Metallic with the gold stripe. We made the tie, the shirt, the cufflinks, and the suit. That's what I'm wearing, this particular coat here. It had pick lapel. This is what is called a pick lapel.
Yeah.
That I thought it would make Nick look broader and taller. As you know, Nick's 5'6", thereabouts, and so I wanted to make him look taller than he was. When we finished with the suit, he asked me then if I would mind to come over to his office during lunchtime and do the fitting there. I said no. So I went to his office, all excited because I thought the suit was fabulous. Unveiled the suit for him, and he looks at it and he said, I'm not wearing that. My heart dropped. I didn't know what to say. And I said, well, humor me. I said, look, I said, just put it on for me and let's see, because I got a week and a half to take care of you before you go to the White House. He said, but I'm not wearing this. I understand, sir. He puts it on, it fit like a glove.
Yeah.
So I left with feeling like a little whip pup. And to this day, I think the lady that saved the day is Jael, was his secretary, and she served under Coach Miles, and I think she's still Coach O.
Still there.
Just nice lady. She said, Manuel, what's the matter? I said, he didn't like the suit. He said, well, let me see it. I opened the bag again, and she started screaming, that is fabulous suit. I said, let's call Terry.
Yeah.
And she made that phone call. She was all excited. And Terry said, what's the matter? I said, he didn't like it. He said, Manuel, is that suit everything that I asked you for? I said, yes. Will you wear it? Absolutely.
Yeah.
She said, leave it there. So I left the suit there. The suit somehow gets to Nick's house. The day off, it's fixed to leave because Nick's very focused. He didn't even bother, he didn't take time to call me to make sure what I was doing for him or whatnot. That morning, Terry tells me, this is what you're going to wear. He said, but no, you're wearing that.
Yeah.
Doug Morrow, who was at that time one of the announcers and traveled with him to go to, I believe, to see the president, he told me the rest of the story. He said, Manuel, when he put that suit on and came out, everybody was telling me how great he looked, and you could see his confidence. And we got to the airport in Washington, D.C., the reporters were telling me, Coach, what a great suit. Then Nick started posting, yes, I had the best tailor, best cufflinks, the best tie. And then he felt very good about it. Matter of fact, I have a note there in my shop that he wrote me to thank me for it.
Yeah.
Jael told me later that the phone was ringing off the hook, wanted to know who made that suit.
There you go.
But that's the story.
And I know he wore it a few times.
Oh,
in
yes,
fact,
he did.
You can overwear a suit.
Well, he ended up liking it because what the compliments that he received.
How often do you wear the same suit?
Well, not very often because I have many suits, many suits
to keep. Yeah.
But maybe once a month I will wear the same outfit.
Well, Les Miles also was a client of yours, and I suspect Les was a little easier to please than Nick Saban. Am I right?
But Les is a fun individual. I often been asked that question: who'd you like to work best with? To tell you the truth, I enjoy both of them. But I tell people if I'm going to have a beer and I want to just have a good old time with a good old boy, I want Les Miles.
Yeah.
But if I'm going to war, and who do I want? I'm going to take Nick Saban with me. But Les was kind of, I think, superstitious. He liked to wear the dark suits. Black was his favorite color. We only made one brown suit for him. Yeah.
Well, a lot of guys, they wear black to conceal a little bit of girth. Was he a little overweight?
Well, he might have carried a few pounds, but he carried well because he's tall. With a fellow my size, if I put 10 pounds, I look like a real little roly-poly.
Well, you mentioned Saban's not tall, 5'6", but there are ways you can make people look taller.
Yeah.
And there are ways you can make people look slimmer.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the Yankees wore pinstripes. That's how it began, because they wanted to conceal Babe Ruth's girth. Does that really work?
Yeah, it does, because your eyes go to the up and down, and it makes people look a little taller and slimmer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
But what we did for Les, we did a three-button coat, again, as a slenderizing. Wow. That's what we did for him.
Well, one of the best Manuel Martinez stories was that Johnny Cochran, the fabulously dressed attorney from Shreveport who represented O.J. Simpson, was one of your clients. And I know in your office you have a note from him. And what does it say?
Well, he was very pleased with the clothes that we sent. And Johnny was not a tall man. He was pretty much about 5'6" too. But he knew what clothes did for him, and he enjoyed wearing nice clothes because of the image he would send out. And it's all about perception. People perceive that you're the best.
But I've seen the note, and it says if it does not fit, you must quit.
You must quit. So, but he didn't send me that note applied to my tailor work. That was the glove.
But you've been doing this for 35 years. I mentioned 3 times the World Congress of Tailors has named you the best in the world. Where did you receive those awards, Manuel?
Paris first in 2001, and then the second one was in Italy, in the Buenos Aires, Treviso, and the last one was in Berlin. And at that point, I decided to don't do it anymore as far as to do the World Congress shows.
Well, we're pleased with your success, and very pleased that you stayed in Louisiana, and congratulations on your continuing success. And if any man ever looked the part, it's Manuel Martinez. There's never anything called Casual Friday when Manuel Martinez is involved. You haven't worn blue jeans in a while, have you?
I do wear jeans. If I'm asked to do something, go to the attic or do some weeding outside my house, that kind of thing, I do wear it.
But usually when you see him on the street in the capital region, this is how Manuel Martinez looks, and you look the part. In the purple and gold, not everybody can pull that off, but you did it. Thank you, Manuel.
Well, thank you for having me over, Jan.
My honor. And we'll be back with more Tiger Rag Television after this brief time out. This is Jim Inkster, and a special treat in our interview segment this week, Rohan St. Patrick Davey, LSU quarterback who led the Tigers to the victory over Illinois in the 2002 Sugar Bowl. Now, wins over teams in bowl games are commonplace now, but back in the day, LSU had not won a major bowl game, meaning a New Year's Day game, since the 60s. So Rohan Davey was really the catalyst for the success to come. And in the 21st century, this has been the golden age of LSU football. And this guy came to LSU to play for Jerry DiNardo, played for him for 3 years, for Nick Saban for 2, but was born in Jamaica. Many people may not realize it, but the gentleman with the great smile was born in Jamaica and did not come to the United States until what, like 3rd grade or something?
Yeah, somewhere around there, 3rd grade, 4th grade. And they wanted to put me back in the kindergarten until I tested out. So let me tell you something, it was a culture shock, it was an awakening, it was different, brother.
And you ended up going back to Jamaica at one point.
I ended up going back because I didn't like it too much when I first got here. You know, kids, I know it now because I have my own kids, but you know, kids can be cruel growing up not knowing when you're different. So it was just that, it was just all the teasing, and my only way that I knew, Jim, to react was to lash out and was to be combative and get in a fight. So my mom didn't appreciate that too much, so she ended up sending me back to Jamaica for about a year, and I ended up coming back.
And then you played football very well in Miami, and Jerry DiNardo knocks on your door. You're also an assistant coach.
Right. Let me tell you, I didn't start playing football until my 10th grade year. A friend of mine from the neighborhood, we had trials. He told our new coach he can play. He came and got me out of class. I went and threw the football. My first jamboree game, we lost like 45-12 in a half.
Wow.
And it left a bad taste in my mouth. My coach asked me the next day, so do you want to quit? And I was like, no, that's not how I want to be remembered. And from there, everything started getting better.
Well, it turned out well, but you had opportunities to go to many schools. Why LSU?
The fans, honestly. I had never before in my life. Now, I think LSU was like my 3rd recruiting trip that year. I've been to Ohio State, been to Texas, came here. And the welcoming, man, I saw Potts that was 6 foot tall, just as big as me. I never saw ceiling fans in the trees before, ever. The fans, just that Tiger walk down, I mean, it captivated me, and it just, it felt like home. It felt like home, and the food was fantastic, as you well know.
Well, and it turned out well, but there were some ups and downs. Jerry DiNardo got fired, Nick Saban comes in. What was that like?
Well, I'll be honest with you. For me, it was a welcome, fresh start for when Coach Saban came in, and especially being part of the process of hiring him and being there and seeing him speak to the chancellor and being a part of the process was very, 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 very rewarding. But we needed a change at the time, and we needed someone that was a player's coach, but also we could hang our hat on and knew that he had our back. And that's what Coach Saban gave us at the time, and that's why everything at that point, when he got there, started turning around. So it was nerve-wracking at first, and it was hard because you had to conform to some of his ways, but for the ultimate good of the team, we knew it was best. And we knew when he first got in there that, okay, things are going to be different.
And he brought Jimbo Fisher with him.
Brought Jimbo in, and a bunch of other great assistant coaches that some are now head coach or have been head coaches before. But Jimbo just, the biggest thing, Jay, was he let those assistants do their job. He let Coach Jimbo Fisher coach us offensively and didn't handcuff him to do what it is he wanted, whether or not it's run the football. He let him, he hired him and he let him do their job, similar to Coach Ed Orgeron now.
Now, I don't know of anybody who ever had a better touch throwing the football than you. But your reputation was that you played better than you practiced.
Right.
Is that fair?
It was fair. It was fair. For me, the field and practice always felt condensed. I always felt like defensively, you had so many coaches in the back. You've gone to practice before. You see the coaches in the back coaching while we're trying to run a play. Guys are behind you. Guys are on the side of you. So I always felt like the field was just very, very condensed in practice. And it wasn't until Coach Saban came and he asked me about it, and I told him about it, and he had me see the psychologist, and then he took everybody off the field. So after that, nobody was allowed to be on the field behind.
Really?
Yeah, because he wanted me to practice better. And that was one of his methods to, okay, well, I'm not going to give you that as an excuse. You're going to practice better. So he did all those little things. But I just like the lights, to be honest. Well, Tiger Stadium, going to Tiger Stadium or just playing and competing, I never wanted to let those guys down that I've gone through 2 of days with, that we've, playing for each other. So it was all that. It was just the fact that you don't want to lose. And when the lights come on, it was that just seemed like the fun time.
Now, you had a senior season for the ages, and the record for yards in a season really still belongs to Rohan Davey because his bowl numbers were not counted then. Now they are counted in the official stats. So the real number for you was 3791.
Right.
Now Joe Burrow's at 3687, so we know he's going to surpass that. But at least for one more week, Rohan Davey is the all-time leading passer for LSU. And that included a 528-yard day at Alabama. And I think that's still the single game record.
Yeah.
So what do you think about your records going by the wayside? Is it bittersweet to see Burrow break one after the other?
I'll be honest with you. With the year that these guys are having, you know, everyone, you have the pride of seeing it up there. And, you know, of course, I have kids, so you like showing your kids, look what Daddy did and all that type of things. But, man, Jay, I'm a firm believer in records are meant to be broken. And with the kind of season that Joe is having, the kind of season that the team is having, the way we're trending, the success, the Heisman Trophy looming, the playoffs looming, the national championship looming, I could not, and me personally, have knowing Joe from last year when he came in, being introduced to them, exchanging numbers, developing kind of a friendship with him, continuing into this year, and me knowing how much of a gym rat he is and the type of guy he is, the type of quarterback he obviously is, I'm so happy for him. I'm so happy and grateful for him. And listen, everything that he's doing is a product of, one, him being a coach's son, two, being a diligent worker that he is. Drive, determination, and dedication is all that he has. And we're lucky as Tiger fans, and the coaches are lucky that we had an opportunity to get him now while basically he's a pro athlete and it's only this one, he just has this one class or whatever, and he's dedicated to us. That's so rare, you'll never hear that again. So listen, I am everything that he's getting. I always say success doesn't come by accident, and he works his behind off. So I'm really happy for Joe.
Now you played in the NFL, played with Tom Brady as the backup.
Guy.
2 Super Bowl championship rings for Rohan Davey, and both of those were close wins, one over Carolina by a field goal, one over the Philadelphia Eagles by a field goal, 38 and 39, those were the Super Bowls. But if Brady had gone down at any point, you would have been the guy. You would have been on the field in the Super Bowl.
No doubt.
Were you ready?
Absolutely, man. You know, I mean, that was one of the things in New England that you had to be ready. Bill made sure that you were always.
Belichick.
Oh, no doubt. Bill Belichick made sure that every day was a work day. Every day was a day for you to get better. Similar to Coach Saban, every day was a day for you to get better, and you never left any stone unturned. So it was practices where, okay, Tom's not practicing today, you're up, you know, during the Super Bowl week, just so I could get extra strength, because you never know. I'm going to tell you when it really hits you, though, is when you go to the little meetings and they come and get you and it's like, yeah, the backup, we want you to shoot the commercial for the Disney. You know, Rohan, what just happened? What did you just do? You just got MVP of the Super Bowl. What are you going to do? You know, everyone said, we're going to Disney World. So I had to shoot that commercial, and the whole time I'm shooting, I'm like, why am I the one doing this? Because I'm not going to play. But you're right. It's a possibility that you could have. Yeah. So that's when it was real. It's like, okay, well, let me go and study a little bit extra long tonight. You know, this commercial kind of woke me up. Maybe, you know, something crazy might happen. So, yeah. But it's probably, 2 Super Bowls, backed them up twice, and possibly could have, you know, had an opportunity.
Well, people are talking about Burrow being the first player taken in the draft. Is he that good?
He's good. He's good, Jim. He's good. He's, I know people say he's kind of come out of nowhere, but, you know, for me, he's been playing this way since the end of last year. Since the end of last year when he kind of got his feet settled, the end of last year, and he's just continued on to this year. You know, I don't see what, you know, all the questions or all the boxes for a quarterback, he checks it. Smarts, he checks it. Accuracy, he checks it. Grit, he checks it. Touch, he checks it. Moxie, he checks it. Leadership ability, he checks it. Durability, he checks it. You know, a coach's son, which is a plus. It's not a box, but it's a plus. You know, does his teammates like him? They love him. You can tell by when they talk. Is he a serious guy that takes football serious? Absolutely. So I really don't know what the question could. Has he played against stiff competition? Absolutely. Has he played against the best? Absolutely. Has he done it against the best? No doubt. Has he been consistent? Absolutely. I mean, I don't know what else you would want to see from a guy to call him to start your franchise with as a quarterback. Size, strength, I don't see what it is that they would say he doesn't have.
Well, Rohan Davey, you know what you're talking about. And Joe Burrow, it looks like he's going to be the top player taken in the NFL draft and the Heisman Trophy winner. And we'll follow it with you. We look forward to having you back again on Tiger Rag Television. We're back after this timeout.
Predictions.
Time to take a look at this weekend's big games in college football. And since we're coming up on the second to last weekend of the regular season, this is traditionally one of the weaker schedules that you have during the course of the college football season, and that certainly holds true. So we'll only take a look at a couple of games. The big game nationally is Ohio State versus Penn State, and the Buckeyes are an 18-point favorite in Columbus. What do you guys see in this one?
I'll take Ohio State in this one just because this is probably the toughest team they'll play on their schedule, and they need this win for their resume, and I think there's no doubt they'll take care of business.
Penn State's looked a little rough over these last couple weeks, but I do think that they played this game closer than 18 points. Ohio State's been dominant, but Penn State's the best team by far that they've played this season. I think Ohio State wins, but Penn State covers.
All right, now into the SEC. Georgia battling Texas A&M. We'll see if the Bulldogs bruise up the Aggies a little bit before they come to Tiger Stadium. Georgia's a 13-point favorite in this one.
I like Georgia in this game as well. I also think they cover. They played a really good game against Auburn. Jake Fromm still not looking like the caliber of quarterback we were promised he was, but I still think that he has a big game against the Aggies, and they win this game pretty easily.
This is one of those many Nick Saban bowls you have during the year between former Nick Saban assistants Kirby Smart and Jimbo Fisher. Of course, the winner gets the lovely gold-plated broken headset, symbolic of Nick Saban's temper. I'm taking Georgia in this one. It should be pretty easy.
All right, we're expecting an easy victory in Tiger Stadium on Saturday night. The Bayou Bengals favored by 44 over the Razorbacks. Can Arkansas cover, Tyler?
I'm going to say no, just based on I think Joe Burrow is going to have a heck of a game in this first half. If they pull him early, maybe that's Arkansas's only chance to cover, but Arkansas is bad, guys. Last time we saw them, they got blown out by a Western Kentucky team. That is not what you want to see. I think that Arkansas's come in here with an interim head coach. They're not ready for this offense, and they're not ready for this game.
Sometimes I look at things and realize how long I've been riding, probably too long. For instance, Arkansas's interim coach, Barry Lunny Jr., I covered him when he was a player, a quarterback. Now he's bald. Man, that makes me feel bad, but you know what? It's an advantage for Barry this weekend because he won't have to pull out his hair when LSU beats the hell out of his team. They'll cover. They'll cover. Joe Burrow will be signing autographs by the end of the third quarter.
All right, there you go, guys. That's a look at this weekend's action. Tyler Nunez, Ron Higgins. I'm Jeff Palermo. More of Tiger Rag Television after this.
That's all for us here at Tiger Rag Television. We will be following the LSU Tigers as they go up against Arkansas this weekend. They are 10-0 for only the fourth time in LSU history. Do you think they can make it all the way to the top? We certainly do, and we're going to be following them every step of the way because, after all, we are the Bible of LSU sports. I'm Chelsea Brumfield, and we'll see you again right here next week.